Usually when we think about our place in the universe, we tend to imagine ourselves standing on the edge of this massive, dark ocean.
Right, just looking up at the night sky.
Exactly. And we feel incredibly small, incredibly isolated, like we're just these tiny, disconnected dots floating through a vast, empty void.
Yeah, and whatever happens out there has, absolutely nothing to do with our day-to-day lives.
Right. It's like the ultimate existential default setting. We are here, the universe is out there, and there's just an unimaginably large amount of cold, empty space in between us.
It really is. It's a perspective that inherently creates this deep sense of separation and, well, vulnerability, honestly.
But what if that emptiness is just a complete illusion? Like,
Right.
what if instead of being a single drop of water lost in an infinite ocean, you're actually a drop of dye hitting a glass of water?
Oh, that's a great way to picture it.
Yeah, where the moment you enter, you instantly bleed into and alter the entire chemical makeup of the glass. You aren't just swimming in the water. You become the water, and the water becomes you.
That drop of dye analogy it's fantastic for visualizing the core tension of what we're unpacking today.
I thought it fit pretty well.
It really does. Because today's exploration centers on a deeply provocative 2005 essay titled Cosmic Holography II. It was written by Su Feng, translated by Treasure, and edited by Kayer.
And it challenges literally everything about that default setting of isolation we just talked about.
Completely. And I think the practical application is crucial to establish right away.
Yeah, because our mission for this deep dive is pretty ambitious. We're going to unpack this mind-bending theory of a holographic universe. And not just as some, abstract physics concept to debate at a dinner party.
Right. Nobody just wants another dry metaphysical concept to ponder while looking at the stars.
Exactly. We want to look at this as a deeply practical, everyday framework. We want to show you how viewing the universe as a living, interconnected entity could radically shift how you view your memory, your relationship with time, and ultimately your own daily happiness.
And that is Wei Feng's ultimate goal here. The explicit purpose of this framework is to help you maximize your freedom, your joy, and your pleasure in life.
Which sounds great to me.
I mean, who wouldn't want that? It's a tool for navigating reality more effectively by understanding the hidden mechanics of how reality actually works.
Okay, so we definitely have to understand the whole board before we can play the game, right? So let's start with the macro concept. What does it actually mean for the universe to be holographic and, more importantly, alive?
Well, Shuofeng describes the universe as a living, unified entity where absolutely everything shares the exact same breath and destiny.
The exact same breath. That's heavy.
It is. It argues that any local change, whether directly or indirectly, alters the entirety of the cosmos.
Okay, but the examples used in the text to illustrate this are, well, they're wild.
They really push the limits, yeah.
They do. The author claims a storm on Mars can cause colds on Earth. A dying whale in the Pacific Ocean causes grief in the fish of the Nile River.
Which paints a staggering, almost overwhelming picture of cause and effect.
And it gets crazier. An Alaskan butterfly flapping its wings causes a storm in the Cape of Good Hope. And perhaps most boldly, that this one specific article by Shuofeng will eventually inspire the awakening of human consciousness as a whole.
It's a lot to take in at once.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit, because I have to push back here. A dying whale causing grief in Nile River fish sounds incredibly poetic, but, almost unbelievably exaggerated.
I completely understand that reaction.
Right, like a storm on Mars giving me the sniffles. It feels like we are stretching the concept of the butterfly effect so far past its breaking point that it just snaps.
It does sound like a massive stretch, and it's worth noting that the author intentionally pushes these boundaries.
Oh, so it's on purpose.
Yes, Shuofeng explicitly admits in the text, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, that this is an extreme and exaggerated expression. But if we look at why he uses such jarring imagery, it serves a very specific rhetorical purpose.
Okay, what's the purpose? Because to me it just sounds confusing.
He's trying to violently shatter our default setting of isolation. By pushing the examples to the absolute extreme, he perfectly illustrates the foundational premise of cosmic holography.
Which is that absolute, unavoidable interconnectedness.
Exactly. It's not merely that things influence each other from a distance, it's that reality is a single, undivided fabric. A tug on a thread in the Pacific physically pulls a thread in the Nile.
So the goal isn't necessarily to prove that Mars dust literally makes me sneeze today. It's to force me to stop thinking of Mars and Earth as two totally separate rooms in a house.
Precisely that. The purpose of understanding this macro connection isn't to feel paralyzed or overwhelmed by the suffering of every dying whale.
Because that would just be exhausting.
Completely. But if you realize the fabric is connected,
Yeah.
you begin to recognize your own immense power within that web.
Ah, I see. You aren't a victim of the universe's whims. You're an active participant.
Right, and you can use this interconnectedness to maximize your enjoyment and agency in life.
Okay, so if we accept that the universe is this infinitely connected macro-level web, how do we, as individual human beings, fit into that grand design?
To figure that out, we have to shrink all the way down from the vast cosmos to the biological level.
Right, to the human cell.
Exactly. Think about a physical hologram, like the actual laser-based photographic technology.
Right, I'm picturing it.
If you shatter the holographic plate on the floor, every single tiny shard you pick up still contains the entire three-dimensional image of the whole object.
Wow, really? Every single piece.
Yes, every piece. And that physical property of holograms is the perfect bridge to the biology of this theory.
So if the universe functions as a hologram, then human beings are the shard.
We are the shards. We are the individual cells. And just like that shattered plate, a single human cell must logically contain all the information, all the data of the entire cosmic body.
Which leads to a pretty staggering philosophical claim. Schoeffing states that because we are cells of this universe, the greatest creator, gods, and Buddhas are all contained directly within us.
They're built right into our cellular makeup.
But here's the kicker. Devils live within us, too. It's all just cellular data.
It's all in there, yeah, the good and the bad.
The text says, when your heart is filled with love and mercy for all lives, you manifest the character of God or Buddha. But when your heart is filled with hatred and you selfishly weigh and balance everything solely for your own personal interest?
You manifest the character of a devil.
Exactly. So my question is, what does this all mean for traditional spirituality? If both God and the devil are just data encoded in our biology, are we basically just downloading different cosmic software through our everyday moods?
I mean, if we follow that logic to its conclusion, it completely upends traditional spirituality.
How so?
Well, the search for truth stops being an outward journey where you look up at the sky, pleading with a distant external force for salvation or guidance.
Right, no more looking up at the clouds.
Instead, it becomes a radically inward journey. By understanding that you literally hold the universe's blueprint within your own cells, self-awareness becomes the ultimate tool.
So I just need to look at myself.
Yes. Schoeffing argues that by truly understanding ourselves, we can unlock all the mysteries of the universe. We can sense future changes, predict trends, and access information about the universe's deep past.
All by just tapping into our present internal state.
Exactly. It puts the ultimate power of the cosmos, the divine and the demonic, squarely in your hands.
That reframes human capability in a massive way. Because if our cells literally hold the blueprint of the entire universe, past, present, and future, then our minds must be capable of far more than just, remembering where we left our car keys.
Or recalling what you had for breakfast. Right?
Exactly. If every cell holds the cosmos, how does memory actually work in this framework?
Well, it requires a complete departure from standard neurology. If we accept the holographic premise, memory isn't actually stored in the brain at all.
Wait, not in the brain. Where is it then?
Instead, it is in all our cells, and more importantly, the essay argues memory is embedded in cosmic space-time itself.
Okay, so what is the brain doing then?
The brain acts merely as a sensor. Through this sensor, humans can supposedly access records spanning thousands, millions, even billions of years of cosmic history.
Oh, wow. And Schoeffing uses this to explain how historical prophecies actually work, right? The essay cites this massive list of seers and texts.
It really covers a lot of ground there.
Yeah, it lists the Tuibe-Tu, Nostradamus' centuries, the Machian-K, Mayan prophecies, Martian prophecies, Tibetan remote sensing, and the Book of Revelation.
Quite the lineup. Let's pause and clarify a few of those references because they perfectly illustrate how this sensor concept spans cultures.
Good idea.
The Tuibe-Tu and the Machian-K are ancient Chinese prophetic texts. They were written centuries ago, yet they successfully predicted dynastic changes and historical events with eerie accuracy.
And Nostradamus and the Book of Revelation are basically the Western equivalents to those.
Right. And usually we view these prophets as uniquely magical people who were granted a special vision by God. But Schoeffing's framework strips the magic away and replaces it with cosmic mechanics.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. Let me try an analogy here to see if I'm grasping the mechanics.
Go for it.
We usually think of the brain as a local hard drive, right? like a physical disk storing discrete files inside our skull.
That's the standard biological view, yes.
But this theory suggests the brain isn't a hard drive at all. It's more like a web browser or a highly sensitive Wi-Fi antenna.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's tapping into a massive, invisible cosmic cloud where every event that has ever happened or ever will happen is already uploaded. So when you remember something, you aren't retrieving a file from a folder. You are just tuning your internal antenna to that specific frequency in the cosmic cloud.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, taking that Wi-Fi antenna analogy a step further, it beautifully explains the phenomenon of prophecy.
Because they just had better Wi-Fi.
Exactly. Those ancient Chinese authors or Mayan calendar creators weren't supernatural. They simply had incredibly highly tuned antennas. They figured out how to adjust their dials to access the future frequencies of the universal cloud.
That makes so much sense in this context.
And this extends to those complex realms you mentioned earlier. When Zufeng talks about 36-dimensional space, it's a way of saying our physical 3D world is just one narrow frequency.
Wait, so realms like the Thousand-Year World, which the text describes as a dimension of pure freedom, or Elysium, a realm of ultimate Buddha nature, are those just other frequencies broadcasting simultaneously?
Yes, exactly. If human potential is completely unbound by physical limitations, an average person could theoretically learn to tune into those exact dimensions.
That makes me wonder about things like intuition or déjà vu. Maybe that's just a momentary glitch in the cosmic Wi-Fi where our antenna accidentally picks up a future frequency for a split second.
That's a fascinating way to look at it.
But that brings up an interesting problem. If my waking brain is a Wi-Fi antenna constantly pulling down data from the cosmos, what happens when I fall asleep? How does this holographic connection manifest when the conscious brain powers down?
That transition into sleep brings us to the essay's take on the mechanics of karma and the subconscious. It's really fascinating. Zufeng introduces karma not as a moral judgment from above, but as the iron law of the universe.
Right, it uses this incredibly visceral image. If you prick your toe on a thorn, your brain reacts instantly. There is no delay. The organism knows it's been injured.
It's an automatic biological response.
Yeah, and in the same way, the essay argues your actions make the universe make God react instantly. You reap what you sow, but on a cosmic, completely instantaneous level.
And when we sleep, our dreams are holographic symbols, proving that we actually inhabit other spaces simultaneously.
Which brings us to perhaps the most complex and honestly weirdest concept in the entire essay.
The negative self.
Yes, the negative self or the anti-ego. This part is wild. The text states that right now, as you are listening to this, there is another version of you living in another realm, and its location depends entirely on your current everyday nature.
It literally gives a map for where your anti-ego lives.
It does. If you have a Buddha nature, your anti-ego currently resides in the Elysium world. If you are cultivating yourself to become a celestial, your anti-ego is in the Celestial Islands continent, or the 10,000-year world.
And if you just yearn for a free life without the burdens of family or mortal ties, you are in the 1,000-year world.
Right. And if you simply love the mortal world as it is, your anti-ego is elsewhere in this mortal realm. But the map accounts for the darker sides of human nature, too.
It gets pretty grim.
It really does. If you enjoy the law of jungles, meaning fighting, robbing, seizing power, and dominating others, your anti-ego is currently living in the animal world.
And if you enjoy deeply dark, selfish acts, your anti-ego is in hell.
And then Zufeng connects this intensely spiritual, almost mythological map to hard science.
Yeah, he brings in actual physics.
Yeah, the essay brings up Stephen Hawking's A Brief History of Time, specifically the theoretical physics of an anti-universe and anti-humans. It also leans heavily into quantum mechanics, noting that antiparticles can interact instantly no matter how far apart they are.
This raises an important question, because that intersection of morality and quantum physics is where the theory gets really dense.
I have to admit I struggle with that leap. Wait, so let's ground this in reality. Say I am a cutthroat CEO. I thrive on corporate ruthlessness. I love the law of the jungle in the boardroom.
Okay, playing the devil's advocate.
Literally. Are we actually saying my anti-ego is literally living as a honey badger or a shark in the animal world right now? And how can we possibly tie a moral consequence like corporate greed directly to Stephen Hawking and the physics of quantum entanglement?
It is a massive conceptual leap, I agree. But let's break down how the author connects them. In quantum entanglement, which is a proven scientific phenomenon, two particles can be separated by light years. But if you change the spin of one, the other reacts instantaneously.
Right, the distance doesn't matter at all. The information travels faster than light.
Exactly. So Suofeng is using this proven physical mechanic as a literal parallel for consciousness. The argument is that just as those physical particles are entangled, your current earthly consciousness is inextricably entangled with your anti-ego in these other realms.
So my mood today, my selfish or selfless actions instantly update my anti-ego's reality across dimensions.
Yes, and that is exactly where the karma comes in. The ultimate goal, according to the text, is to recognize this quantum entanglement of the soul.
Ah, so you have to be aware of the connection.
Right, because if your daily actions are anchoring your anti-ego in the animal world or hell through selfishness, you are creating a feedback loop of suffering.
That sounds awful. So what's the objective?
The objective is to consciously elevate your thoughts, leave mortal, selfish consciousness behind, and align your subconscious with higher frequencies like Elysium. You're essentially trying to collapse the quantum wave in a way that returns your deep consciousness to a state of peace, rather than anchoring it in chaos.
Wow. Okay. With all these complex theories about 36 dimensions, quantum anti-egos, and Wi-Fi brains, we really need to return to the stated mission of this exploration.
Round it back in the practical.
Yeah. Earlier, we established that Shui Feng's goal in sharing this knowledge was to help people maximize their freedom and joy. The author wraps up by saying these 8 points are just him casting a brick to attract jade.
I love that idiom so much.
It's beautiful. He's saying these massive concepts are just a humble brick thrown out there to inspire you to build something beautiful, to draw 80 or 800 more analogies of your own.
But the essay does end on a very intense, almost pleading note.
It does. Shui Feng says humans have lived the exact same way, sunrise to sunset, for years upon years. And he asks, is it time to change to a new lifestyle? Because if not, the troubles and suffering will have no end.
It functions as a stark ultimatum for the reader. Like, you have to choose now.
But if the author is just casting a brick to attract jade, how do you, the person listening to this right now, take this massive cosmic theory and actually build a new lifestyle with it tomorrow morning?
That's the real test of any philosophy, isn't it?
Exactly. Let's make it incredibly mundane.
Yeah.
How do you go to the grocery store differently knowing you have a quantum anti-ego and a holographic brain?
Okay, let's use that. Let's say you are at the grocery store and someone aggressively cuts you off in the checkout line.
I'm already annoyed just picturing it.
Naturally, your default isolated instinct is anger. You want to snap at them, maybe ruin their day like they just ruined your minute. But if you view reality holographically, everything changes.
Because my anger isn't just trapped in my own head anymore.
Exactly. You realize that your flash of anger isn't just an isolated feeling. Because you are a cell of the universe, that anger instantly updates your anti-ego in the cosmic cloud. It's literal, instantaneous karma. You are choosing to download the devil data into your biology.
So by yelling at the guy in the checkout line, I am actively tuning my cosmic Wi-Fi to a frequency of suffering. I'm anchoring my anti-ego in a lower dimension just over a spot in line.
That is exactly it. So you buy groceries differently because you realize your mundane internal reactions are actively building your metaphysical reality in real time.
Oh, wow. So it's about radical responsibility for your own mood.
Yes, when you stop acting out of selfishness and reactivity, you stop fighting the universe. You align with it. That is the new lifestyle Shui Feng is advocating for.
So you stop enduring unnecessary psychological hardship and start maximizing your emotional freedom, effectively breaking that endless, repetitive cycle of human suffering.
And if you can master that, the essay argues it leads to the ultimate freedom, the complete removal of the fear of death.
Which is huge, because if the universe is a hologram, death isn't a final ending. As long as your consciousness exists, you can project yourself into the grand universe.
The realization is simply, I am the universe is me. And realizing that equals becoming Buddha.
It is the ultimate liberation from existential dread. If you finally realize that you are the entire ocean, you no longer fear the evaporation of a single drop.
That is beautifully put.
It really is a profound shift in perspective, a radical responsibility, but also a radical freedom.
It absolutely is.
So let's quickly recap the vast territory we've covered today. We started with the ultimate butterfly effect, exploring how a storm on Mars and a dying whale illustrate absolute, unavoidable cosmic interconnectedness.
Shattering that default setting of isolation.
Right. Then we shrank down from the cosmos to realize that the universe's entire blueprint, both the divine and the demonic, is encoded right inside our very cells. We explored the paradigm-shifting idea of using our brains not as isolated hard drives, but as cosmic antennas tuning into thousands of years of space-time and prophecy.
The whole cosmic Wi-Fi concept.
Yeah, and finally, we confronted the bizarre reality of quantum anti-egos, learning how our behavior in the grocery store echoes across dimensions, leading us to conquer the fear of death by realizing we are the universe itself.
We have certainly traveled from the micro to the macro today. I know it's a framework that requires a lot of processing.
It really is a lot to chew on.
It is, but I want to leave you with a final unmentioned implication of this text to mull over as you go about your day.
Oh, I love these. What is it?
If our brains are indeed just sensors tuning in to a cosmic cloud that contains the entire universe's history and future, what channel is your subconscious tuned into right now at this very second?
Oh, that's a good question.
And if the universe responds instantly to your cellular frequency, how might consciously changing your internal channel today alter the physical reality you wake up to tomorrow?
Wow. It certainly changes everything about how we see that drop of dye hitting the water. You aren't just watching the glass change, you are actively deciding the color.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining us as we unpack the mysteries of cosmic holography. Keep questioning the emptiness, and until next time, keep exploring.